Welcome back. This is part 2 of Willis Lamb's tour of his traffic signal collection. Part 1 can be probably found on YouTube somewhere. We're going to talk about right now Garli signals. This is a Garli 3-bulb signal. It was designed to be the only signal in the intersection. It's got a small controller in the bottom of it. As you can see, having only 3 bulbs, each bulb has to shine all 4 directions, in which case if the main street had red on the top and green on the bottom, the cross street had to have green on the top and red on the bottom. Green on the top and red on the bottom wasn't that uncommon in the 20s and 30s, and these signals were actually still in service up until the 60s. This is a Garli single phase. You'll notice that how the sequence changes, whether it's going from red to green or green to red. Yellow comes on for a second before the original color goes out. Then the new indication comes on after the yellow's been on by itself for a second, and then the new indication is on there by itself. We kind of call that the stair-step sequence. This is a Southern autoflow signal. Southern autoflow, in at least this particular model, was also designed to be a standalone signal. It had a little controller in the bottom. You can see with this signal that some of the early controllers were a little bit less precise than what we expect today. Sometimes you get unintended overlaps of red and green, or unintended little dark out periods. Moving back to the Krauss-Heinz, this is a Krauss-Heinz 2-color signal. Obviously it has no yellow, and so the way this signal would work is when the signal changed, the red light would come on for 3 seconds over the green to let traffic know that the signal was changing. It was sometimes called the poor man's yellow. There's still a handful of these signals still in service, so if you see this indication, be aware that the traffic signal is changing. This is a Krauss-Heinz type M, and it has what's called the double yellow overlap sequence. Now what they did with double yellow overlap was, primarily in the Depression, when money was really tight, double yellow overlap allowed the red light and the cross street green lights to be on one circuit, the main street green light and the cross street red lights to be on a second circuit, and all 4 yellow lights on a third circuit. That only required a 3-contact controller and 3 leads plus a neutral from the control box to the signal. This signal came out in the 50s, but when I received it, it had the double yellow overlap wiring inside, so it must have been used to replace an earlier double yellow overlap signal. This is a Sergeant Sowell. It's also designed to be the only signal in an intersection because it has a controller in the bottom of the signal. However, this is a later model signal, and as you can see, the control cams were much more precise and the indications were much more definite in how they moved. No overlaps, no unintended pauses. This is a Traffic Signals Inc. or TSI signal. It has what's called an all-yellow interval that was used in Chicago and a couple of other areas, and the signal went to yellow in all 4 directions when it changed. The law back then was you did not enter an intersection on a yellow light unless it was unsafe to stop, and the cops used to love to write tickets from people from other states that would blow through the yellow lights. This is a Signal Service Corporation or SSC signal. It was probably made in the 30s. It has a single overlap. SSC controllers were much more precise. This one would have a controller on a pedestal or on a telephone pole. But I just love these signals because of their very distinctive scalloped visors. On the international scene, here's our Plessy tin lantern. The Plessys were typical of the British signals. And as you can see, they had a short yellow interval before the signal turned green to warn everybody that the light was changing and to get their cars in gear. There's still lots of things to finish here in the shop. So as some of the other signals get completed, we'll let you know what's up and we'll post a new video. In the meantime, thanks for visiting, and thanks for your interest in old traffic signals. And by the way, this is a caution beacon made by a company called Highway Signal and Sign. It was probably made in the 40s.